Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Monaco, where we are here for the Invictus Racing League top tier race 6 of season 16. We are going to be challenging the Principality to see how many bits of carbon fibre I think we can leave on the racetrack. But hopefully we'll have ourselves a fun time watching nonetheless. This is Webbo on the mic, joined as ever by JP. Good evening, JP.
Good evening, Webber. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Always enjoy a race around Monaco. Must be old hat to you by now. How have the previous two races been going so far this week?
Not as badly as people have thought. Obviously, incidents with the wall, as you'd expect from Monaco, but generally speaking, the first corner's been a lot cleaner than I think everyone's been expecting. But you never know with Tier 1. It could be the same, could be different. We've also got a new driver in Luke Ten Brink. I'm going to apologise for the pronunciation now if it's wrong. In the Discord, he's just down as LTB, so wasn't quite sure what he was going to be name-wise. But yeah, he obviously got. So we got Luke Ten Brink, and we've also got Livingwall in this race as well as a reserve. So
Excellent.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, and I think there is Nathan looking for a link back in as well. I see ERT's Nipro, Jasper, and Nick Jewston are all fairly new. They joined for Silverstone last week. But where do we find ourselves currently with the standings? And is Ghost managing to hang on to these newcomers who keep deposing him out of first and second position?
Well, as I think ARL was the first comment on the stream, saying hello.
Oh,
always good to see ARL here. I mean, it's a shame he's not racing, because I don't think he's in lobby to be racing, which is a bit of a shame, because we always love a good ARL first out the pits hot lap.
Using lower gears than everybody else at the slow stuff as well.
Yeah. But in terms of the championship, Ghost now takes the lead of the championship by just 1 point from Cameron Searle. 45 plays 44. Emir, after his victory at Silverstone, he's now up to the joint third with Speed Queen on 32. Stinos fifth on 31. Jeremy Clarkson and Jasper joint sixth on 22. MDJ 8th on 21. Cat 9th on 15. Burmeister rounding out the top 10 on 13 points. In terms of constructors, though, AlphaTauri do lead that category on 65 points. McLaren second on 55. Aston Martin now up 2 places after last week with 54 points. Haas in fourth on 45, and Ferrari round out the top 5 on 44 points. So very much both championships still to play for.
Yeah. Well, fascinating to see Ghost. His rivals so far this season have always bested him to the top step, but he's currently first in the championship by a very narrow margin. So very interesting, as consistency appears to be king here for him. And ARL says next time he's racing, he'll be first out once again just for us. Well, fantastic.
I mean, it is an interesting thing with Ghost, and in terms of consistency, there's every Grand Prix he has finished, he has been on the podium. Mm-hmm. The only Grand Prix he's not been on the podium was Baku, Azerbaijan, when he retired.
Yeah, and that was the end of a very long podium streak, lasting through the previous season as well. So he really does bring the results home for the team. Of course, he and Reshka both porting over to McLaren this season. And that's probably why they're holding on to, I think it was second, you said, in the championship at the moment. But what are we expecting out of a Monaco qualifying? Let us know if you're watching on here as well. But did drivers manage to survive qualifying, dialing the speed up towards the end of the session, or was it chaos so far this week?
Yeah, most people survived qualifying. The thing is with qualifying, you're never going to quite push on your first lap. It will always be the last lap that you have incidents on. But I think the incidents you do tend to have in qualifying don't tend to be that serious, other than the Nouvelle chicane, midway through the lap if you just turn in slightly too early and possibly to back. But other than that, most people are surviving pretty well.
Well, Weatherman JSP has let me know that we're expecting dry weather the entire race meet, so that's a promising thing for the drivers. Less so for us, but we won't be too sadistic on the drivers. They do have a tough old challenge here. JP, how did you get on Monday, for instance?
Well, for myself, I qualified 9th and finished 3rd in the end.
Nice.
In my Aston. So not one to complain about. But again, a lot of Monaco is just being patient. You have to have patience, especially when you're stuck behind someone that you're potentially quicker than. You have to have that patience just to wait for that mistake, because it's very difficult to force an overtake.
Yes, but you can certainly pressurise into a mistake, hopefully, for the perspective of the chasing driver. Well, it looks like Nick Buxton is going to be our first driver, JP, if you would do us the honour of a track guide on board.
Yeah, so Circuit de Monaco, just over 2 miles long, 3.3 kilometres, up towards Saint-Devote then, break at the bridge, and into 3rd, short shift to 4th to get the traction as you got through Beau Rivage, and the second corner, that flick left. Massenet, really much a commitment corner, down to 4th, then you sling it through the Casino Square. Downhill, stay slightly right because of the bump, into Mirabeau. Again, now we're getting to the slow stuff. Down to the Grand Hotel hairpin, or as everyone calls it, Lowe's. It is Lowe's hairpin. There's 90 right, just before Portier, where Buxton flipped to Salborough onto its side. Out to Portier, down through the tunnel, absolutely pinned flat. And then back in the day, they used to run DRS through this in qualifying. Breakout 100 metres for the Nouvelle chicane. Don't click the inside, but you don't want to cut too much either. Very easy to get your lap invalidated. So back, down a gear, sling the car through, and it's flat through the third part of the swimming pool. Down to 4 for the second bit, taking a little bit of curb there for Nick. Down into Raskas, this ever-tightening 90-degree right-hander. Anthony knows. Got to be careful, over a little crest can unsettle the car. Nathan is out at the Nouvelle chicane, but that is a lap with Nick Buxton in 1 minute 9.7.
That was committed as well. For the first lap out there, he was enjoying a relative lack of traffic, and very impressive, as is the grid, which Lee Harding points out. 19 drivers tackling this race. Usually, if people are going to be shy of a race and opt out, it will be this one. But credit, I think, to our Tier 1 admin team, who have slowly but surely bolstered. I think we started the season, JP, with 13 drivers, 13 regular season drivers, and to have 19 show up for Monaco is something very special.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Also, we do have a couple of reserves in Luke Tenbrink and Livingmore, but yeah, it's fantastic to see 19 people around Monaco, and it's going to make for some interesting racing. I do see we've got Alpha Tauris, MDJ off at Mirabeau, just gone a little bit, just gone straight on there, and now we've got a yellow flag. I think that's someone just letting some, I think that might be actually Nick letting some cars through.
Jasper has slotted into 2nd, with Ghost in 3rd, Luke in 4th, Ricky Maru 5th, Reshka showing well in 6th place at the moment. Stinos breaks into that 3rd place though, deposing everybody I've just mentioned apart from Jasper. Looks like we've got who else on track at the moment. Cameron Searle attacking swimming pool section right about now. Yes, he has. Yeah, so recovering some ERS to go again, I imagine. I don't think there's anybody else actually on a hot lap right now either, unless they're running a second one. I think possibly Livingwall might be running a second lap after a charge lap, and he's in the swimming pool right now. Swimming pool section, I should say, rubbing the wall. But you're not pushing at Monaco if you're not rubbing the wall, are you?
Yeah, obviously very much doable through 2 laps, although see for Livingwall, I think maybe that first flying lap he's got put on the boys goes to 7th. It was maybe just a secondary warm-up rather than a hot lap. But the big person we've got to look at now, who's just coming around the last couple of corners to start his first run lap, is Emir Djurakovic. 2 wins on the trot so far for the Aston Martin driver. He's in good form. It's just whether he can keep this going as his teammate Jeremy Clarkson rejoins the session.
Well, we'll ride on board then with him if he's the man on form. Tirak has left an I am stupid gif in the driver chat, which is flashing up in the corner of my eye. So clearly he's hit the wall and has retired from the session. 1:13.154. We'll probably see him near the back. Speed Queen registering a slower time on her first lap. I imagine, though, that that's a charge lap for her. So through into the hairpin goes Emir. And then mounting the curb and into Portier. Needs a good exit here. Pick a good line through the tunnel. It's just about putting the minimum amount of steering lock through, and then pick your braking point. He was very late on the brakes down into Nouvelle. JP there.
Yeah, late on the brakes, but still got the car slowed down enough to get a nice line coming out of the Nouvelle chicane. It's more the exit of the Nouvelle chicane is more critical than the entry, as he absolutely ramps over the yellow curb at the swimming pool.
As if it wasn't there. Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be that quick a time though. It's only a well, it's still quick, it's third place, but it's only a 1:10.2, and for how much commitment that looked like, it looked like it was destined to be in the 109s, but maybe just over-committed.
A little over the top. His teammate coming through then, what is that? He's coming through, it was Massenet and Casino, but he's led his teammate through. He didn't need to, really, but they're both on slower laps at the moment, and out on an in lap. How did Nipro do last week, JP? The Elite Racing team obviously have a representative who's very good at this particular track, so no excuses for not having training or setup, I think.
Yeah, at Britain, I think, Nipro unfortunately retired from Britain last time out. He was up the order, but Nick and Emir last week were very much the class, the field for Britain. Nick's just got that slightly wrong at Nouvelle. He's just taken that a little bit too much curb, and it's just made the front bounce out a little bit of where he would have wanted it, and he's clipped the inside of the swimming pool. I think this lap is quite possibly not going to be so good. And yeah, he bails right at the end.
Confirm on that one, yeah, absolutely. Ghost is on track though, and he's treating those curves a lot more gently, but that's because he's obviously not happy with the current lap, and he's going around again. Presumably a second charge lap here. Let's ride with Ghost in the absence of any other particularly fast drivers. Maybe JP, you could keep an eye on Jeremy Clarkson and on Nipro for us. I doubt that this track suits Clarkson very well, as it's not all about power.
Yeah, you can't just hammer the throttle around there, that's for certain.
With the fine adjuster.
yeah. I got the thing to fix it. It's a sledgehammer. Just put that on the throttle. But yeah, Jeremy Clarkson just coming from Nouvelle. Nipro just coming up towards Nouvelle through the tunnel. So
purple first sector for Ghost. That's impressive. He is currently though
trust that.
7/10 off the lead as things stand. Into the Nouvelle chicane we go. Nice narrow exit potentially. Might have been fairly early on the power.
1:10.4 for Clarkson up into 4th. Nipro just coming around the last couple of corners now. I'd say this is probably looking at about a 1:10, 1:11 area. 1:10.6 for Nipro into 7th.
Ghost gaining nearly half a second on the run through 2 sectors. Over half a second and up to the front row for Ghost. A 1:10.010 for that one. That was a difficult one to read for me. But into second place. A really impressive lap from Ghost.
Yeah, if Reshka goes in Tokyo Drift out of Raskas, he was over a second up on his time. That's definitely not going to be the case now, though. Still finds 8/10 to go 16th with a 1:11.9.
If you've seen those short videos of people drifting around the hairpin at Monaco, but they do look very impressive. Being able to pull off drift driving around Monaco is something quite a unique talent.
I've seen a Citroen Ami put
yes, there's that one.
On its side through those hairpin.
Straight into the
I've seen that one for certain.
People showing a faster way through the switchback section in the middle of the track by going sideways through the whole thing. Must take a tremendous amount of practice. You say Clarkson doing okay. He's gone into pits now. Speed Queen is on track. 1:10.484 for her so far. So she's got the difficult to back corner. Sorry, the. Where am I? I'm talking to back. Yes, to deal with.
Yeah, that was the back.
There she goes. So slowing on this lap, and that was a little bit of lag for me on my screen, just took effect there. So some of the drivers have been complaining, as Emir has got a invalidated lap at the moment. Is Nick on track and pushing? I think he might be.
Yeah, Nick is on a fast lap.
Beautiful pickup of the gears there. And we're going to Mirabeau, and he's almost a tenth faster than he's been before. That's a nice way to start the lap, but out of Mirabeau, a big sideways moment.
Yeah, trying to test your theory out there on whether it's quicker to drift it into those hairpin. I don't think he has lost a bit of time because of that, but I don't think it's as much as it probably looks.
No.
And amazingly, that looks really horrible from the outside. Again, he just gets
it's just over the top
out
there.
through Nivelle.
I think he's pushing very hard, as he can do at the front of the field, but he's lost nearly 0.3 of a second through that middle section.
The thing is, on our screens, it looks like a really bad moment. But I can tell you from experience, those moments when you're actually driving feel like nothing. It's literally just a slight correction on the wheel, and you're away again. So they look a lot worse than they feel. I can guarantee you that.
How is Luke doing, newcomer to the league? He's in P7, so a nice, impressive start here. Just finishing off his next lap. 5 minutes 45 to go on the clock. So through Raskas and straight into pits, which is not great for us. Cameron Sell, sector 2 at the moment.
He's on it in lap, I believe.
For in lap as well.
Ryan de Pavine, he's going through the last corner. This is a hot lap. I think a 110.5 puts him into 9th place.
Good stuff from Ryan. Bringing the Mercedes forward. She has to do well because Nathan's been eliminated already at the tail of this session. JSP starting a new lap maybe?
I think he has just finished one. He's done a 111.4, but MDJ now on his next lap. The big thing here is Cameron Searle's down in 11.
Yeah.
Not quite where, again, not quite where we're expecting. He had a poor qualifying in Britain as well, if I remember correctly. So qualifying slipping away a little bit for Cameron.
This track will show up the drivers who have skipped it on practice day. It is something that drivers tend to shy away from, quite normally, frankly, because it's not one that appears in leagues a great deal because of the carnage that can often result. A little bit of a wiggle for MDJ. He's traded understeer in the first sector for oversteer in the second sector. It's been a bit, sorry, the other way around in fact. It's been a bit difficult for him this lap. Through swimming pool we go. Took a nice amount of nice bump through the second part of swimming pool. Bit wide through Raskas. Perfect through Anthony Noakes, which probably means he was slightly slower than he could have been. And goes for the line then from P13. No improvement. Well, no improvement in position, but a 3/10 improvement in time.
Yeah, Emir is on here. Probably will be his last attempt. Because the tyres do wear, and he is pushing the car as there's a slight wiggle coming out of Casino down the hill into Lowe's. I think that's Williams ahead of us, possibly of Luke Bailey, or could be JSP as well.
Very close to the wall on the inside through 48. We'll probably gain him some time in terms of hitting the throttle nice and early. Really threading the needle in Nouvelle Chicane. A little bit of overspeed possibly there, JP.
Yeah, and he's backed out of that lap. He knows that was a bad exit through Nouvelle. Monaco, a lot of people think, especially qualifying, everyone thinks you have to be quick in and quick out. Monaco is all about traction, all about the exits, because you're not going to get up to top speed. You're not going to get into 8th gear. So it's all about getting the traction down to get the acceleration between those corners. Obviously, you still want good mid-apex speed, but if that mid-apex speed is costing you time out of a corner, then that hampers you along the next straight and potentially into the entry of the next corner as well.
Absolutely. We've got Emir unable to improve on this second lap in the first sector. Ghost is second, but Nick Jewston currently 109.778 is 2.5 tenths faster than Ghost. Ghost only has a 1.5 tenth gap himself to Stinos. Ghost about to start his next lap then, JP, in the McLaren here. No blue on the front of this McLaren at this stage. No special livery either for Monaco.
No, as he heads up Beau Rivage into Masseny. We've got a yellow flag. I think that's just Emir maybe relinquishing some track position to Reshka. Or it could, again, it's one of the Aston Martins, I think, isn't it? But into lows for Ghost. Keeps it in second so he can get the traction out through the first round before going to Portier. And you can just see the short shift. You see what I mean? Getting that traction is very key, and that short shift as MDJ has retired. I think that's in the pits, so nothing to worry about there.
Slightly earlier on the brakes there from the Nouvelle for Ghost. Let's see if that pays dividends as he comes through to back for the second sector. It does, and he's picked up a lot of speed in this middle sector here, JP, so far.
Slightly too much curb or not enough. So there's a fine margin with that curve. You either don't hit it at all, or you hit it a lot. And he's struggling out of Anthony Nose for a bit of traction. There's a 109.9, nothing to snub about, but just not quite pole position time.
Nice performance though from Ghost so far. Just defending that second place now. We've got Nick Jewston about to start his flyer. Stinos will be a bit further up the road and trying to claim that front row for Ferrari. Nick in the Sauber, of course. Romeo, I guess. And up the hill, up Beau Rivage we go for Nick.
It will be a Sauber again.
True.
In the not too distant future. Emir has retired, I believe, in the pits.
Nick is 1,000th better than he's been before in Sector 1. So right on the finest of margins now. Just ride with Stinos coming out of the Nouvelle chicane as he's gunning for that first row. Crosses the line and he's 2 tenths faster, and that is fast enough to claim that front row if he can just thread it together in this final sector. Round Rascasse we go. Don't park it in the taxi bay, and round Anthony Noakes, the curiously placed traffic cone on the apex of Anthony Noakes, and across the line. But no, only a 37,000 improvement for him, whereas Nick has got a purple middle sector at this late stage in qualifying.
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson up to the third place at the moment. Luke Ten Brink into fourth.
Whoa, look at that from Nick. 109.569 extends that lead by 5 tenths of a second in qualifying over just 2 miles, JP.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Whoa, and Jasper, new pole, 109.560. 9 thousandths of a second, and he claims pole position. Tremendous stuff at the dead of qualifying.
Yeah, that's impressive from Jasper. I mean, he didn't really look to be anywhere in qualifying, and then Pob goes the Haas and into the pole position by 9 thousandths. I was about to say, Ghost was thinking he had a lot of problems with the PC drivers coming and being quick, and obviously Nick Jewston on a PlayStation is also causing him further issues.
Absolutely. Well, Jasper, the PC driver, does take pole position, JP, but that was tight at the end.
Yeah, I mean the game says .010, but it doesn't matter. Jasper takes pole position from Nick Jewston. Row 2 is Ghost and Jeremy Clarkson. Row 3, Luke Ten Brink and Stinos. Row 4, Cameron Searle, Emir Jurakovic. Row 5, Speed Queen and Nipro. Row 6, Ryan and JSP. Row 7, Livingwall, MDJ. Row 8 is Reshka and Ricky Maru. Row 9, Luke Bailey and Tirak, and Nathan, unable to set a time after crashing at the Nouvelle chicane, will start on the 10th and last row by himself.
Wow. We will be diving straight into the action, so it's going to be a real challenge to track what's going on. We've had to disabled the formation lap once again. So forgive us for our poor camera direction as we start the race. JP will try and cover the back half of the grid if possible. I will try and cover the front on the stream, and we will try and get you all the action through the first few corners. I have noticed though, JP, lately the spectator camera has been really difficult to get a good start camera. I don't know if you've had the same issue, but I cannot get the front-facing view anymore.
Well, I've not had too much issue. I mean, last night I had a good starting camera, so.
Oh, good. Maybe it's track specific.
Head on. Yeah, I think
and
that
I've been
probably
unlucky.
is the case. Yeah.
Beautiful rendering of the Principality in the background of the pit lane. The mechanics all doing that sunbathing pose once again. AJ says no heroics into Sandoval, please, from Jeff.
Yeah, good old Jeff, the old F1 engineer. He got replaced by Mark, who, let's face it, is much better.
I can't say I've driven the game enough to make a judgment, but yeah, we did all get very tired of Jeff eventually. I think broken clocks were right more often than Jeff in the weather forecast.
But the key thing to note here for Monaco, though, is this pit lane. Obviously, very short entry.
Yeah.
And the exit, obviously, I think is about a 19-20 second time loss. And the reason it's that short is obviously you've got no run up into the pit lane, which means there's no real diversion away from the circuit. But obviously when they come out, they're straight back out onto the track, but they also cut that first corner as part of the pit lane. So those on the lap have to go around Sandoval, whilst those coming out of the pits don't. Which can make for some interesting moments when people are coming out of the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. Ricky Romero calling out that the front wings are ready for replacement already, but only one per team in the pit lane at the moment. So I think we probably want two or three.
They've got a cloning machine in the back of the garage, I think.
Well, there's that magic that happens where the graphically when the front wing magically mends itself before being replaced as well, which I think as always takes you out of the immersion, doesn't it? Luke Bailey calling for a miracle here, so and we get the go ahead to get underway. So predictions please for the podium, and if you like any safety car. We're not expecting safety cars though, but any other bold predictions you wish to make. We get underway then. The lights are on and it's time to go racing around Monaco. Let's get going, guys. It's lights out and away we go from the start with the Haas and the Alfa Romeo vying for that first position. Round the outside goes Nick Houston and reclaims that top position he had for so long in qualifying as Jeremy Clarkson and goes to side by side all the way up Beau Rivage and up towards Sorry, go ahead. Up towards Massenate. We're up.
We have a crash. Ryan de Pieven off after Sandoval.
I'm going to keep an eye on the hairpin as we go down. It's one challenge here. Ferrari of Nipro against Stinos against Cameron Searle will be side by side all the way through successfully. But JP, I talked over your update there. Ryan de Pieven, a problem.
Oh, big crash in the tunnel. Cameron Searle.
Yep, I see him. MDJ is in amongst it as well, but Cameron Searle is the wrong way around. No front wing. He's managing to keep running, but Cameron Searle and Ryan de Pieven both right at the back and in need of repairs early doors, and it is Nick from Jasper, Clarkson and Ghost, Luke Stinos and Nipro making out the top 7 as they barrel on through Raskas and into Anthony Nose for the second time. It will be a 39 lap race, but don't let that fool you. It will go like the blink of an eye. The front group already dropping the hammer and getting away, but we've got a really tight battle 10th downwards, JP.
Yeah, Emir Jurakovic into the pits for a new front wing, so I think he might have been involved in one of those two incidents. Obviously Ryan, I think, got tagged coming out of Sandoval. Cameron in the tunnel, which is a bit of a scary place in that tunnel to have an accident.
Don't want to be facing the wrong way in the tunnel, do you?
No, definitely not. Interestingly, though, tyre-wise, Nipro, the only man to start on soft compound tyres. Stinos and Luke Bailey, the only two to start on hards. As Emir has decided, oh no, he hasn't. He's actually crashed out with Sandavot.
Oh no! So
out of the pit lane.
Double win streak comes to an end and is out of the race. We have a full yellow flag in that first sector. No, just waved yellows at the moment, and it's clear. So we're back under racing. I was saying in the build-up that Nipro has a teammate in ERT who's a Monaco specialist. Now I wonder if that has fed into the strategy option here of using that soft tyre, which of course rarely here in Monaco actually makes sense if you can get an overtake or two done early doors, JP, and get an undercut on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what he's looking at possibly doing. Make up a few positions and then try and undercut when he goes to the hard tyres. Obviously, if you can work out your gaps on the track map, you can make that pay dividends. However, I would say that an overcut is a stronger option around here, purely because the tyre warm-up, it takes about a lap and a half really for the tyres for you to have really any confidence.
And is there any chance that the soft to medium would be open? As another retirement, Ryan de Peven is out, and that is what, in the pit lane?
Pits.
Okay.
In the pit lane, yeah. I think he's going to call it a day very early and head to Kimi Räikkönen's yacht. Probably parked in the harbour somewhere.
Or an ice cream.
In terms of soft to medium, I don't think that's really that viable of a strategy. Although it very much depends on your tyre hour, but if that was an option, I'd have said Speed Queen would be looking at an even soft.
Yes. If there's a radical option out there, Speed Queen is running it. Right, got it. Okay. Ghost has picked up a fastest final sector there. Obviously quite comfortable at the moment. He's 1.4 seconds off the podium, and a bit of a streak that is that JP mentioned in the build-up. Luke ten Brinker in 5th place is keeping Ghost honest as well. The Ferraris 5th and 6th, the best performing team so far, as they come down through the Grand Hotel or Lowe's hairpin for the 4th time. No one making any desperate moves. It already evens up a little bit. Was that Tirac going very slowly on approach? I think he misjudged the turning point or the braking point maybe for that hairpin. But Cameron Searle, one of our championship favourites, still in the race, but right at the back, going for the mother of all undercuts. But at the moment, it looks like Clarkson, who is closer than any other driver, although he stuffs up the swimming pool. Something chronic there coming out. And Emir Durakovic has left the session, unfortunately. Won't be hearing from him tonight. But Clarkson right on the tail here. A little bit of DRS. It's barely worth using, is it, JP, here in Monaco?
Yeah, I mean, I think every driver would say it is the most useless DRS zone ever created, but obviously every circuit must have one, and the FIA not brave enough to let them use it through the tunnel, probably for good reason.
Yeah, maybe it's something you should have to qualify or deserve to use by keeping it on track for the rest of the season or something. It is a shame, because that is possibly the only overtaking opportunity really. You see the odd move into Saint-Davot, but down into the Nouvelle is pretty much where you see the majority of moves done, or sometimes even out of the Nouvelle chicane if someone has got it all kinds of wrong and hits the barrier.
Yeah, I mean, in order to make a move at the Nouvelle, you have to pretty much be side by side tunnel really to be confident. It is, like I say, with Monaco, it is mainly the exits, which is why we say it's the traction that's king around here, which is why it doesn't matter if you run extremely high wings, because if you get to the traction compared to someone else, you could easily drive past someone whilst they're spinning the tyres up, as the Haas of Rickon almost gets all out of shape as he's trying to keep on the back of MDJ, who's on the back of Living Wall.
And we've got a three-way battle for second developing as well, as Ghost, who typically runs a very low drag setup, probably isn't doing that tonight. I'll ask him if he makes the podium, but he's right on the back of Clarkson, who is somewhat being held up now by Jasper, it seems, JP. I don't know if you've got the same read of the situation.
But what I do know is ERT Nipro has spun coming out of lows, and that's allowed Speed Queen up into 7th. And that's not going to help his tyres in any way, shape or form.
No, and Nipro down to 8th then, but spin and resume, it seems. Still focusing on a beautiful shot through the swimming pool. First part of the swimming pool, absolutely gorgeous. Louis Chiron, corner turn 13. Sorry, yes, Louis Chiron, which you'll see if you get any trackside cameras pointing the wrong direction. You can see it perfectly, but you never see it from the perspective of the driver.
Yeah, it just looks like Nick's got the balance of Jasper here. I wouldn't necessarily say Jeremy Clarkson's any quicker. Obviously, I think it just very much looks that way, because Monaco's got this weird thing where if you're right behind someone, you tend to stick with them, and you look a lot quicker comparatively. A lot of the time, once you get a gap to about 1.5 seconds, as JSP. That's out of Casino.
Okay.
Look, I don't think Nathan's actually in his car.
No, but
so he's come out
on board
of
and
Casino, and
what a
he's
mess.
Out of Casino, and Clarkson, that is at Nouvelle.
So Clarkson out as well. We lose 2 drivers in 1 lap, and that appears to be double wave yellows temporarily. Oh, what a mess. Another corner missing off another car, and that would be by the position of the car, JP. He's tagged the inside on the way in, surely.
Yep, we're going to use it once again. I don't know if Darryl Whiffen's watching, but he has clipped what has also been dubbed Whiffen's wall. And he isn't the first person. He most certainly will not be the last. Every race this week has had someone hit that inside wall on the entry to the Nouvelle chicane, and it's an absolute disaster for Aston Martin. They were looking like they were going to start getting into this constructors battle after a few good races, but this one is going to put that on halt.
I'm just watching with Reshka versus Ricky Maru. Ricky tagged the wall and his car ghosted for a second. Oh, and Reshka out on board on the stream. Reshka hits the inside of Casino. So that is another wheel gone off another car, and another mess left on the racetrack. Wow, it is all happening, JP. This is a real war of attrition so far.
Yeah, 3 cars in the space of what, a lap and a half?
Yeah.
That's
shocking stuff.
Yeah, that's not what you're looking for, but it shows you just how easy it is to get it wrong around Monaco, and how important it is just to finish this race.
Be there, yeah.
You look at Cameron Searle. He was down in 19th only 7 laps ago.
Yeah.
He's now up into 14th. Only 5.5 away from Livingwall, who has made a pit stop, possibly to the end of this race. And we've got another yellow flag. That looks like Ricky Maru trying to get into the pits.
Okay, just struggling to get in as slow as possible. Clarkson leaves a single word review of that race. Oops, in the driver chat. So, but he did enjoy his battle with Ghost. So. He seems not too disappointed. I think generally speaking, JP, people enter this race with low expectations.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's expectations, obviously apart from Nick Jewson at the moment, who is absolutely flying away, nearly 4 seconds to the good. I think everyone's kind of goal with Monaco is just finish.
Yeah.
Just get a finish, and what will come at the end of the day with this circuit, because qualifying is so important as long as you keep it out of these walls.
Yeah, absolutely. Ghost was sliding around on the exit of Raskas, surely too early to be experiencing tyre drop off. I would imagine, JP, we're aiming for kind of lap 16, 17 for the medium tyres.
Default is 17 laps on the mediums.
Okay.
So you're looking at lap 22 for the likes of Stinos.
Yeah. And Nipro any moment now, I guess, on the softs.
Yes. Yeah, Nipro are out probably lap 10, 11, so this or next lap I would predict. But it depends if he decides to take those softs longer than we would dare to.
We shall see. I mean, he's already done a spin turn on them. Evening to Kelvin, who's watching. Kelvin usually cheering on Speed Queen. She's in 6th at the moment and is coming forward. I think she qualified 9th or 10th. So moving forward, other people crashing out slowly but surely as Ricky Maru in the pits has been passed by Cameron Searle. We don't think Nathan is in the car. Is that correct, JP? And so I think we have 13 drivers.
He is not in the car. Yeah. That's interesting because that's Ricky Maru. That's his second pit stop in as many laps. So
yeah,
that's not ideal for him.
Could be that he requested a wing change and or was expecting a wing change and it didn't transpire. That seems to be a common problem for drivers in this iteration of the game.
Yeah,
Nipro is in then, 23 seconds off the lead, and I'm going to keep an eye on that and see if that turns into something a little bit better as they come into the pits. So 23 seconds off the lead was Nipro on the first scheduled pit stop of the race on start of lap 11.
Yeah, if that's a bog standard pit stop, no wing change, I'd expect that gap to probably be around the 42 to 43 second mark, if my pit lane delta's about correct.
Well, they usually are, JP, and you've had a race run in the cockpit and one in the comms box already this week, so you've been keeping your eye peeled on that one. Just watching Luke Bailey, who is nice and close to the car in front. Is that a penalty for Cameron Searle? Interesting. Yeah, presumably that's slipping over what, Saint-Devote or the Nouvelle Chicanes, pretty much the only places you can do it.
There's 3 key places for track limit penalties, and they are the only ones where you can go beyond the curb, which is Saint-Devote, Nouvelle Chicane, and the first swimming pool chicane, where it's flat, and if you just get it slightly wrong and it understeers, you can go over that right-hand curb through the right-hand flick of it. That will also give you warnings and subsequently penalties. Speed Queen in the pits now, from her medium tyres. That's earlier than I expected, but maybe looking to. I think that's looking to maybe cover off Nipro there. And
yeah, try and get herself a bit of an undercut in the same cycle. She comes out of the pits just in front of her teammate Tirac, so that's a nice, comfortable place to be. Nipro picks up a 3-second time penalty there on his second lap out of the pits. So Speed Queen on hard tyres isn't going to be held up by anybody. We'll probably be doing the holding up in this first lap, JP. Is it a challenge to get temperature in the hards?
I would say that, but Ghost has got no front wing.
Oh no! Unbelievable. That is an incredibly rare occurrence there, Ghost, and he's wiped the entire front wing off as well. So he's definitely going to be coming to the pits. But one ray of sunlight there for Ghost, it was probably in the window.
Not for the mediums. I mean, in theory, no, not really. He'd have been wanting to go to lap 17 on those tyres.
Yeah.
But he will get to the end.
Sure.
On a set of cards. They will make the end of this race now. So it's doable, and as we know, track position is king around here. So you can defend even with a very old set of hards. Although he's losing positions left, right, and centre. Down to 8th, he's going to come out just ahead of Luke Bailey, but he's lost a place to Speed Queen there.
Thankfully, the game did give him a front wing, so he can, as you say, come out of the pits behind Speed Queen and her teammate Tirac, who were running slower. Tirac and Luke Bailey were running slower than Ghost. He'll be keen to get a move on past, but that's at this stage they are racing for position, JP, and Tirac is not obliged to move aside for any driver, even if you are the reigning champion.
We have a Ferrari spun around at the swimming pool chicane. Looks like no damage. Looks like he's got away with it very much so. Although having to do a 55-point turn to get the car moving again.
Tirac gets a penalty for corner cutting. Sorry, I thought that was Luke getting a penalty for doing those turns, but thankfully not.
No, so that means NDJ is now back up to 4th place, and he's on the same strategy as Stinos here. Started on his hard compound tyres.
Tirac in the pits, that frees up Ghost, give one car out of Ghost's way. Speed Queen has already gapped that position on the track by 4 seconds though. So plenty to do for Ghost still, if he wants to keep this podium streak alive. He's got to finish the race first though.
Yeah, that's, as the old saying goes, to finish first you must finish. MDJ has gone up 10 places up into 4th now. Luke Bailey's gone up 9 places into 8th, so
Yeah.
obviously, as you say, Monaco, that's not 10 moves on track in reality, and most of those would have been done whilst people in the pits for damage or spun out, but I think that does show you the patient side of Monaco and biding your time.
Absolutely.
We've got a
Nipro
move,
side by side. Is
Nipro.
this an overtake? It is. A beautiful overtake from Nipro down the inside. Might have been an unfair fight on tyres. Let me just check that one. It was. But all the same, take a picture because that was a rare thing.
Yeah, I think Luke Bailey probably wasn't going to fight that one too hard. His race isn't with Nipro today. He knows that. So it's pointless trying to fight him when you've got a 14.8 second gap back to Living Wall that you kind of want to try and keep hold of. Living Wall, again, another one who will probably go to the end on those hards. They won't be very nice at the end, but unless he plans on coming in for like a set of softs later on in this race.
Yeah, so just going through the pain section. Pain phase on the fresh hard tyres are our recent pitties. Ghost should be just coming out of that, and he's already gained a second on Speed Queen in front. Ghost's pace very impressive when he's got some clear air, but a mistake somewhere, we think, possibly in the latter third of the circuit, given that he didn't lose too much time to the podium.
I do wonder if he maybe had that wing off either at Nouvelle or Portier, because obviously the thing that made me suddenly notice it was that Luke was suddenly like 6-7 tenths behind Ghost. I know that gap was up to around 1.5 seconds, so I do wonder if he had that from Portier or Nouvelle. But if it was at Nouvelle chicane, he's a very lucky person to still have all 4 corners on his car from what we've seen so far.
Interested as to how fast Nick is pushing at the moment. Just going to ride on board with him for a minute, give the race leader by 7.5 seconds some screen time at least, as there's gaps most everywhere else. Still seems to be dialed in, a little bit hesitant on the throttle, maybe out of swimming pool 2, but overall looking like he's on rails here, JP. Is Nick?
Yeah, I think he's in a really awkward phase for Monaco. He's got 7.7 seconds, which means he's not going to want to push hard. He doesn't want to put himself in jeopardy of hitting the wall. But the biggest issue is if you do slow down, you risk losing concentration, which can backfire on you. So it's really enough in racing. Having a massive gap is an amazing thing to have. It's a great feeling, but it can also go the other way in terms of that mental thinking as a
work against you. Yeah, absolutely. So there's the Ferrari in the pits then. That promotes Stinos, MDJ, Speed Queen, Ghost up a place, and everybody else possibly up to Luke Bailey, not including Living Wall, it seems. But yeah, Nick driving very, very well at this stage. He's already lapped one Ghost. Left the session now, so it is just an AI driver staying out, as well as Jasper have yet to pit.
If Nick Houston decides just to but I suspect just for his sake he might wait until
Every lap of the race award, which is a matter of pride for some.
Ghost is slowly getting onto the back of Speed Queen here, just
slowly.
9 tenths away.
He was 4 seconds, 3 laps.
Definitely a little bit slower as
Right.
he gets into the dirty air. And interestingly, Nipro has gone on to the mediums, which I only just noticed.
So softs 2 mediums was his
end.
approach. Yeah, I wonder if Nick and Jasper can extend their mediums into medium softs, but it does seem unlikely that Nipro can get sort of 3/4 of the race out of a medium tyre.
Unless he is
Obviously in the pits, isn't it?
Yeah. Jasper now in the pit, so expect Nick Houston in on the next lap. Because the thing is, he's going to have to come in at some point, and Stinos is on the hard compound, so he's definitely going to at least lap 20.
Senna here, hounding the mirrors, moving around. Speed Queen has run out of ERS. Pretty sure I can bet a significant amount of money that Ghost hasn't. No, indeed he hasn't. So even around Monaco, where it's quite easy to spend but not easy to save, he's round through Massenet and Casino and into Mirabeau now, but it's going to be difficult to find a way through here. Speed Queen drives a very wide car when she wants to.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trait with Speed Queen. I have noticed this season. She does spend her ERS very, very early in the race, which, as we've noticed before, has left her a little bit defenceless come the end of some Grand Prix. Obviously, this one is a slightly different ball game because of how easy it is to defend from a car.
There's Nick, your leader, in the pits. As we talk over each other to say the same thing, which is always good. Ghost is chasing. Stinos will hold the lead of the race for the time until he pits. Apologies, folks, if you've experienced any slowdown on the stream. I just got a network warning on my side, but I'm not seeing any issues, and I do run a wired connection so as to avoid that kind of thing. Goes right up behind Speed Queen, who herself has closed up behind MDJ, who has yet to pit, the same as Stinos, and now it's going to get very busy here for this pairing as they reach the back of a much slower and older tyre shod AlphaTauri.
Yeah, and this is showing why this alternate strategy of hard to medium is not a favoured strategy around Monaco. Because these guys on the fresher hards, they've had several laps, they've got their tyres up to temperature, and they are naturally going to be quicker than the hards on MDJ's car. So this is why a lot of the grid started on the mediums to go onto the hards. Right. Generally, it's just a safer and slightly nicer strategy because of track position. And obviously the pace you do get from the fresh set of rubber. It's about the only track, in my opinion, where the alternate strategy is not a favoured, or at least not a much loved strategy, shall we say.
Nick Houston came out of the pits, and he is further ahead than when Jasper came in for the first time. He's nearly 8 seconds to the good now. MDJ, I don't know if Speed Queen and Ghost will just be waiting now for MDJ to get out of the way, but meanwhile they are losing pace to the podium and possibly bringing Stinos into play for that overcut. JP, I wonder here. Let's just check out gap to leader. 22 Stinos, seconds to
which is the window.
Ghost. Yeah, so Stinos could be able to exit in front of this if MDJ fails to let these two through.
In the pits.
Yeah.
So here we go. This is where we find out if this is going to work for Stinos. MDJ just coming through swimming pool, and he wasn't quick either. He wasn't quick through the swimming pool.
Ghost is going to be chewing feathers if he comes out it, spitting feathers, I should say, if he comes out of the pits.
Easily ahead. And more crucially for Stinos, he's also ahead of MDJ, which means he's not going to be stuck in that train, and there really is no threat for him from behind.
The other thing I just noticed, Nick Houston just got the fastest lap on his second lap on hard tyres midway through the race, which was that was quite impressive.
It would not surprise me if he decided to dump a load of ERS that lap, just to go, yeah, I'm going to use the fresh rubber. Let's burn the ERS, we're on slightly lesser fuel. Why not just go and set a fast lap? As the Ghost, as Nathan bots.
Cameron's gone. Yeah, Cameron's gone.
That's on the exit of
Sandoval.
Sandoval, yeah, that's a big accident as well. That's the front left corner missing from the AlphaTauri. I tell you, it's a bit of a strange place to go on at Sandoval, because you kind of go through there, and you just straighten the wheel up and you go, and you put in the throttle when when it's straight. Although with the traction control off in this league, I wonder if some people are maybe not getting up the gears early enough, and it's causing some traction loss, and obviously naturally the car, if you're losing traction, will spit you off one way or another as MDJ pits.
MDJ finally pits, releases Speed Queen and Ghost, who are still incredibly close to one another. Nick Joost, Jasper and Stinos, your current provisional podium here. Speed Queen and Ghost tucked behind them. Now Ghost is going to have to pass Speed Queen if he wants any hope of continuing that podium streak. These things are actually quite important to Ghost, so I think he'll be wanting to get a move on. That was a long, hard stint, and I would imagine, is he put on mediums? He has put on mediums. He didn't want to tackle a 16-lap stint on softs, which I guess makes a lot of sense. So the medium window only really just about open here. Ghost struggling coming out of Portier, didn't manage to keep close enough to Speed Queen to challenge. I wonder, you know, whether Ghost is going to have to settle for 5th here today, JP.
Every chance for that. However, based on his current championship rivals, I'd say 5th is not a bad place to settle for. I mean, Cameron Sorrell, 0 points for him. Emir, no points for him. I'm just going to have a quick look at the table again and just see who else we've got. Speed Queen is obviously ahead of him, but only by 1 place, which is worth 2 points. And obviously Stinos up in 3rd at the moment. He's 5th in the championship, 14 points behind. So again, he's not losing massive points, and he's very much gaining on those directly behind him.
And Ghost tends to be quite a pragmatic racer anyway, as much as he won last season. This season he's come in with much tempered expectations. He's learned that picking up points, and I think any time you turn up to Monaco and get in the top 5, you should really go home pretty happy, but that's a long way from done yet. It's lap 24 of 39. Nick leads Jasper, Stinos, Speed Queen, Ghost, Nipro, Luke, MDJ, Living Wall and Luke Bailey, your top 10. Tirak, Ricky Maru. Tirak is still on the track if I'm correct, so I think we're down to 11 actual human drivers, as Ricky Maru and Nathan are touring at the moment under AI conditions.
Yeah, we're almost at that phase that as long as you finish, you score points. Tirak at the moment in that unlucky seat at the back, and I get the feeling that probably won't change too much as he's got 10 lap old hards. I mean, Livingmore might end up having to pit, but again, I think he'll be going to the end. Ghost still on the back of Speed Queen, just can't find a way through, and you can tell he's not really looking to force anything, because he's not using too much ERS here. He's just making sure he sticks with stick with Speed Queen, put a bit of pressure on and just see if you can pry a mistake, because Speed Queen doesn't make many mistakes, but if you can pry one from her, Ghost will happily take the invitation.
Absolutely. His usual advantages lie in his ERS deployment late in the race and his high top speed. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to buy him much in terms of track position tonight, JP, the way that this track operates for the drivers.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously Nick has quite clearly used a lot of ERS for his fast lap, but he had clean air, and he wasn't trying to get past another car, so ERS is still very powerful, but the length of straights you have here and how tight the walls are makes it very difficult to really utilise it.
It could. We're still millimetres away from disaster for any of our remaining 11 drivers. It's far from finished, and that's one of the reasons I love Monaco so much. Even watching real F1, I always look forward to Monaco. I just love the fact that anything could happen at any moment, and if you look away from the screen, that's almost guaranteed to be that moment that that thing happens. But MDJ closing on the back of Luke here. I wonder if he will have a bigger speed differential. Newer mediums against Luke. This might be a more likely source of an overtake attempt.
And even then, it's still going to be incredibly hard, because whilst Luke will have the grip advantage, Livingwell still has that track advantage, So as long as Livermore uses the ERS wisely, coming out of specific parts of the circuit, positions the car well enough, even with that sort of extra grip from Luke, it's going to be hard for him to make that position. Yeah, that's just the Monaco way.
Absolutely. The gap between Ghost and Speed Queen temporarily under 0.3 of a second. You don't get much closer and stay within the bounds of the track here. He might be about to launch a move. Feels like he's possibly losing patience, but you know it won't be a speculative low percentage move from Ghost. He'll be weighing his options.
He knows all too well his main chance is a bit of a snap.
Can't get out of Portier, can he?
No, I wonder. I'm going to keep this on board and see what he's doing next lap around with the gears. So I wonder if it's something to do with the gears. Maybe he's just leaving it in gear too long, and it's just causing the back end to snap.
Yeah.
But
it wouldn't be dirty air at those speeds through Portier, would it?
No. Although it could be maybe a diff thing. Maybe the differential is set slightly more for the rest of the circuit. But we'll have a look.
You think several corners exits would be worth giving up for an exit out of Portier in terms of setup compromise? But here he goes once again through Saint-Devote and up Beau Rivage.
Yeah, it very much depends on his feeling, because if he feels like he needs the confidence through the sweeping corners, not necessarily that they're necessarily quick, but the sweeping corners you do want confidence on if you're going to sling the car through each of these corners. Let's have a look. Down towards Portier we go again. So he's in second, stays in second, clicks up to third, and fourth
to fifth. He's struggling with wheel spin, isn't it? That is highly unusual.
I wonder if he's had a few. Obviously, I wonder if he does a few wheel spins prior, and the rear tyres are actually now. Maybe he's done that so many times that the rear tyres are starting to cry a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is worrying with 10 laps of this race still to go.
So he gets really close under braking. Just can't beat Speed Queen's traction, despite the fact that she has precious little ERS. She's constantly flashing that tail light. Clearly she doesn't have a lot of electrical deployment left available to her. Ghost was still showing green on his steering wheel as well. He wasn't pressing ERS before he'd stopped being grip limited. Very confusing there. If we talk to him later, we'll try and ask him.
Something's happened to Living the Nouvelle chicane. He's lost his front wing on the Red Bull.
So he has. Ricky Moreau said that the game thought half a wing was enough to run with in Monaco and didn't change it when he went in the pits. But if our racers ever do watch back the streams, and I know some of them do, you can't rely on this game to change your front wing ever. I don't think. You have to manually select.
Generally speaking, if the wing is only like a yellow colour, it means that the end plate hasn't come off the car. So the game will think that it's only minor damage, which won't affect you too badly. So it won't automatically change it. It's only when it starts to get into like the dark yellow orange colour that the game believes it's causing enough of a loss of aero that it definitely needs to be changed.
So Luke ten Brinker picks up another penalty on the track. That's 3 seconds each for those drivers with a penalty flag by their name. In addition to Nipro, as JP says, is in the pits at the moment. Second pit stop, gone on to soft tyres here for the final 9 laps of the race. Ghost remains less than a second behind Speed Queen, but they are just coming up to lap vehicles. They're not about to overtake anybody else. Big gaps on the circuit apart from this one, really.
It's going to be interesting with Nipro because he's given up track position with his strategy to go on those soft tyres, and is that the right thing to do? I have a feeling it probably wasn't. He'd have probably been better off having track position, but he does have that 3 second time penalty, so had he not had the penalty, I think this strategy is not the greatest of calls, because he's given up 2 places here.
Yeah, totally. Nick's lead is now 11 seconds after 31 laps. That's quite something around Monaco.
Yeah, and Stinos is closing in on Jasper here, down to 1.5 seconds. But again, is Jasper in the mode of he's not going to beat Nick? So is he on a bit of a safe mode, effectively?
But I mean, Stinos is going to have a better tyre advantage here at this stage as well, in terms of pace. For a few laps at least, he'll have a little bit of a delta there.
He will do, but again, it's whether he can get in a position to be able to use that grip to make this move. And this is the big thing in Monaco. It's all about pressure. So much pressure put on drivers to not make that mistake, because it does take one mistake and you're either in the wall, you lose a position, but if you don't make that mistake, you have a very high chance of defending your position here.
It looked like Speed Queen was the one with the difficulty out of Portier that time, but Ghost just couldn't get anywhere near the braking zone, in the braking zone, I should say. So very, very difficult. He's just going to have to rely on a mistake, and a correctly timed mistake as well, because you can make a mistake and then still keep someone behind you, or you can make a mistake and they crash into you. It's very tricky. It's not any mistake will do. It's just the right, perfectly timed and correct type of mistake that you're looking for from the person in front. MDJ picks up another penalty there, so he's now on 3 seconds. Neat row there. We just need Luke Bailey to pick up one, and they will all cancel each other.
Yeah, and that to me confirms really that Nipro probably hasn't made the best call on his strategy there to make this double stop. I think he'd been better off going on the hards and dealing with the tyre wear come the end. But you never know, he might be able to get up to the back of MDJ and force an error from him and Luke ten Brink.
What do you think about the idea here? That I know that when, I think it was F1 2020, the safety car was just so appalling in Monaco. There was just glitch after glitch after glitch. Do you think the Codemasters just removed it as a possibility rather than code it well? In Monaco.
I don't think they fully removed it as such. I think it still does have a percentage chance to come out, but that percentage is very low.
Yeah.
I think potentially they've done that because with Monaco, as we've seen, we've got that 6 retirements on the board. The majority of them crashes coming through corners. It makes me wonder if they decided that actually people were maybe complaining that the safety car was out too much, because you had crashes every other lap. Maybe after a safety car you'd have a 2-car collision, which would bring out another safety car and another one. So I wonder if maybe they saw a few complaints and decided to try and keep it more green flag racing. As Nipro look down the inside of Mirabeau. Oof. This is going to get tasty down towards Lowe's. Squeeze into the wall.
Yeah. It's difficult to get 2 cars to run side by side down that section between Mirabeau and the hairpin there, but he's right on the tail. Couldn't be closer coming through the tunnel.
Yeah, almost pushing him through the tunnel. Looks to the outside of Nouvelle Chicane. Nipro will get a corner cut, and he'll have to relinquish that position, which he has done by order of the game. But a lovely switchback through Tabac. Almost a huge accident at the swimming pool as they go side by side. And Nipro does get up into 7th, but he now has, I believe, 6 seconds worth of penalties, which means, as MDJ has to come into the pits. Is that for a wing change, or has he just decided he wants some softs for the end of this race?
I'll stay with him. I think it is a wing change. So I was going to say that's fair as fair, isn't it? If as they pushed each other off into non-critical corners, but it looks like, unfortunately, no. MDJ did suffer some damage as a result of that exciting few moments there on the track, where I thought it was almost worthwhile Nipro taking the penalty and just trying to gap him and disappear rather than continue to fight. But he seemed to be between decisions coming out of Nouvelle.
Yeah, the problem is that if you ignore he got given a 3 second for the corner cut initially as well, and if you ignore the command of the game to relinquish position, you get an extra 5 on top. So and at that point he'd have had an extra 8 seconds on NDJ, which at that point you're not going to gain.
No.
By the time he catches up to Luke Tenbrink and then loses time battling, he probably wasn't going to be able to gain that anyway. But Stinos, we're starting to get a few little battles created here. Stinos is on the back of Jasper. Ghost is having nightmares looking at the back of that Alpine. He's going to be able to draw that from memory later. But the question is, can Stinos improve his podium, his position on the podium?
He's got maybe a lap or two's opportunity here with his tyre delta. But again, that progress seems to have stalled, and he seems to be hitting that invisible half-second barrier where you just can't get past. And even if you do, like Nipro did, finding a way past is still, I think, a significant challenge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Any overtake's a challenging overtake, and really, ironically, it was a good overtake because of the difficulty. But Luke Bailey up 9 places into 8th at the moment. He's the biggest mover of this race. See, the latest one was against MDJ, who is going to be catching him at a rapid rate on those soft tyres, brand new. And they won't go off, so he can pretty much push to the end. So I think that was I think, what's happened here? I think Luke Bailey's made a mistake out of Portier, and NDJ's gone past.
Could be.
So
could have forced him into a mistake, I suppose.
That battle was considerably brief.
Oh, Stinos right on the brakes, almost crashed into the diffuser of the Haas in front. No way through once again. I mean, he had a great slipstream going up Beau Rivage up the hill. That lap, thought he might be within a shot as MDJ, a 1:11.911. Fastest lap of the race so far with 2 to go. I wonder if Nick has just seen that and will have a go himself.
I think he'll know. I mean, when that does flash up, it does tend to tell the drivers what tyre that was on. I think Nick will take one look at the tyre compound and go, that's not going to be happening, especially on 17 lap old hard tyres. I mean, Nick's quick, don't get me wrong, but I'm not quite sure he's a magician with these old tyres.
Round we go then. It is laps 37 for the lead group. Nick, Jasper and Stinos. Go ahead.
I think MDJ's actually unlapped himself against Nick Houston just to provide him the fact that he is quick. Either that, or he's just decided not to ignore the blue flags as he goes round. But it does look to me like Nick's not really catching him.
Yeah. Stinos is, I think he's entered the phase on those mediums. Oh, and Ghost, wow. Again, his car ghosted just because it was slightly off the racing line for a moment. I don't think he even made contact with the wall. Big sideways moment out of the hairpin. I think that's his challenge run. I don't think he's going to have much courage left in him, JP, for a move after you get a frightener on you like that. No,
I mean, to be honest, it's a massive credit to Speed Queen and Ghost. They've been on these hards for 25, 24 laps. I mean, that's Speed Queen. I mean, based on a normal person's tyre wear, that's about 50% worn tyres there. Yeah. So for Speed Queen, it's probably more like 44, 45. But
just the sweet spot by now.
They're not at that point. You definitely can feel you don't have the same grip that you used to. That's for certain. Stinos trying to mount another attack as we head through Portier. It's Haas versus Ferrari, and that's definitely not going to be a title of a movie, I don't think, anytime soon.
No. Maybe it would be a story of Gunther Steiner and the struggle for parts. Would be the only explanation I would have for that one. Ghost still nowhere. It doesn't look like Nick Houston on this lap is pushing. He was 18 thousandths off his fastest time in Sector 1. It wasn't anywhere near it in Sector 2. So unless he's charging for a final run as he starts his final lap.
What I am surprised about is I haven't seen a penalty flash up for NDJ for ignoring blue flags here.
Oh, massive lag spike I just got there. I don't know if you did, JP. That was huge.
No, I didn't. But yeah, I am surprised that MDJ hasn't been given an in-game penalty for ignoring blue flags, because I'm pretty certain he's had blue flags for the last 2 laps.
Yeah, yeah, there we saw them, but the blue flags are flying, but he's significantly far ahead of Nick Houston here. Let's see, how is Nick doing? I don't think he will want to lap the car in front at this stage. Just focus on these last few moments. Yeah, definitely not going for a fastest lap here on 19 lap old hards, and he's entering the final 2 corners. Through Rascasse he goes. What an impressive display this has been. 14.5 seconds is going to be Nick Houston's win in Monaco, and that's a feather in the cap. It's worth more than a normal win, but unfortunately only gets a win's worth of points tonight. Great win from Nick. Jasper then in the Haas, looking to bring that team a healthy dose of points. He secures second, very closely followed by Stinos, and Ghost piling pressure on Speed Queen ever since he emerged from the pit lane behind her after having to change his front wing earlier than expected. But Speed Queen resisting all the way through, comes through the final corner and completes the race in 4th place. Good haul of points for her. Ghost is in 5th. Only Luke, Nipro and MDJ are on the lead lap, and they will just come through around about now. What would have been for Nipro had he gone to the hard tyres, I wonder, and not had that mini spin as well. But Nipro in 7th. Again, good to get some points on the board. Everybody finishing this Monaco Grand Prix should be happy with their evening's work here, I imagine, as MDJ will be the last one across the line. JP.
Yeah, the AlphaTauri just coming out of Anthony Notes, and yeah, it's an achievement just to finish here. So if you're on the podium, it's extra creds, as they would say. But I mean, MDJ, it's not the ideal result for him. I mean, he did go up places from his starting point and picked up driver of the day from Ghent. And he also picked up that fastest lap point as well, which is always a handy thing to have, especially with his teammate retiring from the race.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get the podium celebrations. We will try and get our podium group in, but it is, I think Nick will be an easy add because he's PlayStation. JP will have a little look into that for us, I think. Try and get him into the party. Getting some post-race reviews already from Ghost. It will lift the beautiful trophy there with Nick Houston. Congratulations to him and to Stinos and to Jasper. So perhaps the PC takeover has been halted somewhat here. This is we are playing cross-play, so it's not quite PlayStation versus PC, but PC have been bossing it the last few races. Nick Houston, 2000 is his name, NIEKJOOSTEN, and he wins with a 48-minute race. From Jasper and Stinos, the confirmed podium there. Provisional results, of course, prior to any penalties. Speed Queen in 4th and Ghost in 5th. Very close behind. We've got Luke Tenbrinker debuting and scoring 6th place. Nipro on his 2nd race with us gets a 7th place. MDJ, Luke Bailey, Living Wall, and then our retirees. I think Tirak finished in the worst place of all. MDJ did get that fastest lap. And then our retirees, Ricky Maru, Nathan, Cameron Searle, Reschke, Clarkson, JSP, Ryan De Peven, and Ryan De Pevine, I should say, and Emir Jurakovic, all retiring from the race. Nick has entered the comms box for the first time, but Nick, I just want to make sure that your audio party settings are set to share. If you would just double check that for us. JP, any thoughts from you on a driver of the day from your perspective?
I mean, well, Nick's an obvious candidate. I mean, that's a very dominant drive, but I think Stinos, in terms of his strategy, is a fantastic drive from him as well. I mean, to be honest, everyone's regular driver of the day who finished, aren't they? I mean,
yeah, true enough.
That's an award in itself.
Well, let's see if we can speak to Nick then. Nick, congratulations. That was basically a different tier you were driving in tonight.
Yeah, thanks very much. I took the start, took the first position, so that was very crucial because I thought I could have gone quick in qualifying, but my second and third one didn't really go well. But then unfortunately I got second, so the start was very crucial. But then I just managed to pace, and I honestly wasn't even pushing. I was just managing the gap.
Yeah.
I think the tire was pretty good on my on my tire, so yeah, I just managed it. And
Well, I'm sure all the drivers in the Discord will be really pleased that you weren't even pushing. So, great message for them.
I'm sorry. Like in the first few laps, I just increasing the gap a little bit in order to make sure that he wouldn't be able to undercut me. But then the gap got like 7 seconds, so then I just didn't take any risk and just let the car go.
Were you in the zone tonight? Did you feel that?
You really can get in the zone, I think, on this circuit. I really like street circuits because you just get into a rhythm and you just can't get out of it. You know, in the meanwhile you're just checking other cars and just seeing what happens because it's all going automatically. You know.
Tremendous stuff. JP, any questions for our race winner?
Yeah, got a couple. Obviously, when you came into the pits, were you just waiting for Jasper to come in, even though you had such a big gap? Were you just waiting for those behind you to come in, because then you'd basically come out in your net lead of the race anyway?
Well, I think if I would have pitted before him, then I think he still would have been inside the safety car window. So that was just a risk that I wanted to avoid. You know, I could have gone in and probably do a good couple of laps and then be within that window, but I just didn't want to risk it, and the tires were good, so I thought, you know what, I would just wait until he goes.
Yeah, and obviously you're in the zone, but obviously when you've got a lead of that much, some people can kind of switch off a little bit as they try not to go as quick as they can do to make sure they play it safe. How do you make sure your mindset is still in that zone to make sure you don't make a mistake because you're not concentrating so hard?
I think it goes automatically because once you're really in that zone and you find a good pace, which is not too slow but also not too fast, you know, at Monaco you can't really make a mistake. So once you get that good rhythm, I think you can just easily keep that as well. I was just doing, I think, on 1/10 of the same lap for like 10 laps, so I think that was pretty easy to manage. But yeah, it's just about that rhythm.
Congratulations! Fantastic racing out there. Really, we didn't spend a lot of time watching you. You probably understand why that would be, but we were keeping an eye on your gaps and your pace at various stages. It was something else. So you can go home. You can go away from this one feeling pretty pleased with yourself, I'm sure. We go to Spa and Austin and Jeddah next. Now you've already said that you like a street circuit, but how do you fancy rounds 7 and 8? Spa and Austin.
Yeah, I don't really like Austin, but Spa I love, and Jeddah is my favorite circuit, so I'm looking forward to that one.
And that was the sound of lots of drivers' hearts dropping at that point. Well, congratulations, Nick. Great to have you with us and holding up the PlayStation side of things while we get this influx of very quick PC drivers. So congratulations and good luck in the next few rounds.
Thank you.
Good stuff. JP, do we get any other drivers at this stage or any notes?
I do have a thing from Jasper. Obviously he's PC, so unable to join. I believe Stinos doesn't have a microphone or a working microphone at the moment. But I do have something from Jasper. He said his quality, that was amazing. Shame he lost first at the start, but the pace of the Alpha was it was a matter of time before he did get past anyway. Got close with Stinos at the end, but he had enough ERS to defend from the Ferrari.
Good stuff, and I did hear from Ghost as well. He said he was irritated he threw away a podium, but well done to Speed Queen. Thought she was incredibly impressive today. He was waiting for a mistake, but it never came. So sporting as ever from Ghost. I imagine he will continue to lead us into the next round, but Nick will be rising through the ranks very steadily here, JP, in terms of standings for next week.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. See, second last week, first this week. He's going to be on 27 points, which would put him up around, before anyone else's points get added on, obviously, would put him up around 6th place area. So
Yeah.
yeah, the big question is what sort of gap will Ghost have now going into Spa-Francorchamps, because obviously Cameron Searle, Emir Djurkovic, non-scoring Speed Queen, the first person to score points and outscore Ghost, but not by a lot.
Absolutely, I fancy Ghost will do well at Spa as well. It will lean into his usual strengths, but time will tell. Make sure you tune in next week, of course, for us here at Top Tier. Is that you done for the week, JP, or are you back in action tomorrow at Realistic Performance?
No, I'm not in action
Okay.
tomorrow. So that's obviously that's where Bruce, who's a Tier 2 commentator, will be in action there.
All right, so we'll be supporting Bruce. But yeah, make sure you tune in tomorrow and you've liked the video, subscribe to the channel, followed us on socials. I'm at WebORed5 if you're interested. But from everybody here at the Top Tier of Invictus Racing League, thanks for watching, thanks for liking and making the live chat so entertaining, and we will catch you on the next race day.